What a twist! Ain't it? I didn't see that coming either. How's it going, guys? It is MWT, obviously here back with another one. Day 5 of the NBA recaps. We got a bunch of games to go over, so we're going to get right into that right now. But I need you guys to go into the little area right underneath and subscribe to this channel and like the video if you could, please. Thank you very much. Alright, now let's get into it because we got a lot of games to go over. So the first game was the Miami Heat versus the Milwaukee Bucks. This went to overtime, and yeah, the Miami Heat won. And actually the Bucks were up by a very big amount, and then they let the Heat come back. Yeah, so unfortunately that happened. Miami's big scorer of the game was actually off the bench, Goran Dragic, who had 25 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, and 1 steal. Milwaukee's big scorer was, of course, Giannis Antetokounmpo with 29 points, 17 rebounds, 9 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks, but he had 8 turnovers, and he fouled out of the game. So, yeah, if he doesn't foul out, they would have won. They were up, though, by 21 points going into the third quarter, which, obviously, you know, that there's no excuse to blow that kind of lead. And then the Heat were actually up by 9 points during the fourth quarter, and then they blew that lead. So, yeah, overall, great game by both teams, but still not an excuse to blow those types of leads by either teams. Especially for Miami to blow a 9-point lead, like 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Shouldn't happen. That should never happen. Let's go to Philly versus Detroit. Philadelphia did win this game 117-111. It was overall pretty much a decent, solid game. Philly's main scorer of the night was actually Tobias Harris, who had a 29-point game, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, and 2 steals. Detroit's big scorer off the bench, as usual, Mr. Derrick Rose, 2011 MVP, 31 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks, but he had 6 costly turnovers. That's not good. So, Philly was up by 12 points. That was their biggest lead of the game. Later in the fourth quarter, they were up by 11 during the first quarter, and then they blew it. But Detroit was up by 13 points sometime in the third quarter, and then they blew that. So, it kind of went back and forth right there in terms of blowing leads. So, but this one's on Detroit. You shouldn't have that happen to you. But also Philly, man, you don't want, even though they held most of the lead for the entire fourth quarter, shouldn't happen. I don't know. I'm sleepy a little bit, but that's what I'm just gonna say about the matter. Hawks versus Orlando. Now, I got to say something about the Hawks. This is pretty interesting what's going on here in the beginning games of the season. They're doing pretty great so far. Hawks win 103-99. Yeah, they played really outstanding game. Orlando's main scorer, Evan Fournier, with 23 points. He had 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1 steal. Meanwhile, for the Atlanta Hawks, of course, again, Mr. Trae Young with 39 points. He had 7 rebounds, 9 assists, and 2 steals. Very great game again by Mr. Trae Young. Doing some great things here for the Hawks. Like I said, they would be that like top tier team to make the playoffs, like top 10, top 9. They might be able to make it. We'll see how they do it. They held a 9-point lead during the third quarter. It was pretty much back and forth, which I like to see in the game like this. But then they blew that lead, and Orlando was up by 5 with like 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Then they blew that and let the Hawks win by 4. So, yeah. That's all I got to say about that. Going on to the next game here, Boston versus New York. You know that it wasn't even a contest. It wasn't even a contest. Okay, 118-95. This one's going to be short and sweet and to the point. As long as my, computer can load. Kemba Walker, 32 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals. New York's main scorer, R.J. Barrett, the rookie, 26 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists in 36 minutes of action. He's going to be okay this season. The Knicks were actually up by 12 points like halfway through the first quarter, and then they blew it. And then the Boston Celtics were up by 29 in the fourth quarter at some point. So, yeah, Boston really got out. They jumped in the second quarter. Just comparing it, it was like what? They were actually losing going into the half, 46-51, and then all of a sudden they have a 72-point half compared to 44 points by the New York Knicks. So I'm just going to leave that there for you. Don't need to say anything else about the Knicks other than they are terrible. So, they're 0-3. At least my Bulls are 1-2. We'll get to that in just a second. But the Cleveland Cavaliers upsetting the Indiana Pacers, who have been pretty much upset throughout this entire year so far. I did pick them to at least be third. I thought they would be a sleeper team to make the NBA Finals or even the Eastern Conference Finals. I thought they'd be a sleeper team. But, I don't believe they still have Victor Oladipo, so they have to wait to get him back. Indiana's main scorer, of course, Mr. Malcolm Brogdon, 30 points with 2 rebounds, 10 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block. A 30-10 game. Pretty good for a double-double. And then you look at Cleveland's main scorer. It was obviously, it wasn't even Kevin Love. Wow, that's pretty interesting. Tristan Thompson, the big man in the center, 25 points, 13 rebounds, and 3 blocks. He had a plus 23. Very interesting for Tristan Thompson. I guess they're still trying to prove themselves. They'll be kind of like that bottom tier team with like the New York Knicks. But Indiana was up by 5 in the beginning of the first quarter. And then the Cavaliers were up by 24 going like midway through the third quarter. And they held that lead from like the beginning of the second quarter all the way to the end. So they won the game by 11 points. So that's... Indiana, please figure it out, man, because, whatever the future holds for me, please. All right, let's go on to Chicago versus Toronto. I honestly did pick the Raptors to win this game just because I thought they were going to be better, and they obviously were. Let's take a look at the box score. The Raptors won 108-84. Toronto, their main scorer was Pascal Siakam in a 19-point game with 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and 1 steal. And for the Chicago Bulls, their main scorer was Wendell Carter Jr., actually. He had 12 points. If your leading scorer is Wendell Carter Jr. with 12 points, your other guys got to figure it out. 12 points, 11 rebounds, and that's pretty much it. Very bad minuses for Thomas Satoransky, Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, and even though he did have the best game, Wendell Carter Jr., he had the most points on the team. Looking at it right here, the Bulls were actually up by 5 a couple times in the second quarter, but then Toronto completely took over in the second half, and they were up by 26 at the end of it. So, yeah, they got some work to do. So we'll see what happens. Next. Oh, and obviously that was the Raptors' 10th straight win over the Bulls, so we don't need to talk about that. Anyways, let's go to this very great game that I watched. Houston versus New Orleans. Pretty good game, actually, if I do say so myself. The Rockets win 126-123. New Orleans big scorer, of course, Mr. Brandon Ingram again with 35 points, 15 rebounds, 5 assists. And for Houston, James Harden had 29 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, but 8 deadly turnovers. And that's the thing. I don't even want to consider him the best of the night. I honestly think it was Russell Westbrook. Look at this. 28 points, 10 rebounds, 13 assists, 1 steal, and only 4 turnovers. But they still won the game. I think, honestly, Russ was the best player that night. Looking at the matchup right here, Houston was up by 10 during the first quarter, but then they blew it. New Orleans was up by 8 at the end of the third, and then they also blew that and let the Rockets come back and win the game. So, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything about it. Let's move on to San Antonio versus Washington. obviously I had San Antonio winning this game. I just had them winning this game. You know, you got to have the teams that you want to make the playoffs. You honestly want them to win, just so that your predictions seem validated. Strike that from the tape. Washington, their main scorer, Bradley Beal, with 25 points, 5 rebounds, 11 assists, and 1 block. For San Antonio, it was LaMarcus Aldridge, who had 27 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1 steal and 1 block. But DeMar DeRozan with 26 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block, and the game-winning shot. Honestly, this team is special. So, pretty great. They're pretty much, the game was tied at the end, and then DeMar pulls up and hits the game winner. So, winner, winner, chicken dinner. Looking at this, it was pretty much back and forth in the beginning, and then San Antonio had a 9-point lead, and then they blew it before the half. They had an 8-point lead during the third quarter, and then they blew it, let Washington come back and be up by 5 in the fourth, and then Washington blew that lead. It was kind of back and forth, and then DeMar hit the game winner. So, pretty good game by both teams. Pretty much close, but still, you should not. Yeah, you want to keep it on your side as always. Second to last game, Utah versus Sacramento. Of course, Utah was going to win this. It's like no contest right here. You're facing off against the Sacramento Kings. Honestly, I think the Sacramento Kings could be a top 10 team, but they got to figure it out because they've been basically bad over the beginning of the season. Sacramento's big main scorer was actually Dwayne Dedmon. 11 points, 6 rebounds, 1 block, and he had 7 turnovers. So, yeah, it is what it is. But you gotta work it. De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield, they gotta start stepping up for this team. But let's go to Utah really quick. Their main scorer was actually Bojan Bogdanovic with 26 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, and 1 steal. He had a 32-plus, but that wasn't even the biggest on the team. A plus 36 by Donovan Mitchell. And he only had 15 points. You want to tell me about a player that's well-rounded. Like, that is great. Plus 36 on the plus or minus scale, that's incredible. Looking at this, Sacramento was practically up by 4 during the first quarter. And then Utah piled on and kept piling on. They were up by 37 at some point during the game, like third or fourth quarter. Yeah, so that was fun. And now, let's go to the last game. What a twist this game was, honestly. I didn't watch it, but I'm going to watch the highlights. We live now in a world where the Phoenix Suns are 2-1 at the beginning of the season, and I picked them to go 19 and only get 19 wins. It's like what happened last year with Sacramento. This team could honestly be an upset to my predictions list. I'm looking at also Golden State playing OKC, and OKC's up 50-29 halfway through the second quarter, so it is what it is. Now, for the Clippers, their main scorer was off the bench. Montrezl Harrell with 28 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block. Kawhi had 27 points, 8 rebounds, 10 assists, 3 steals, and 1 block. He was 2 rebounds away from a triple-double, so that's pretty cool. Meanwhile, for the Phoenix Suns, of course, Mr. Devin Booker had 30 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, but he had 4 turnovers, but they still won the game by 8 points, 130-122, the final score. Let's take a look at this really quick. Clippers were up by 3 points during the first quarter. That was actually the first bucket of the game. That was their biggest lead, was a 3-pointer at the beginning of the first. And then the Suns were up by 15 at the end of the game, but they were up by like 9 points during the first quarter, and then they blew it to the Clippers. Clippers came back and made, a couple runs, but then the Phoenix Suns went up by 15 in the fourth, so, yeah, pretty okay game. I wouldn't say it was the best. But, well, that's how it is. And Westbrook, biggest news of the game, Westbrook passed Magic for second on the triple-double leaderboard. Um, let's see. Do I want to do a question? Do I want to do a poll? I know I'm running behind on polls because I haven't found time. Let's see. Oh, here's one. Do you think the Phoenix Suns are going to win more than 19 games? I'll put the little chart. I'll put the little thing. I'll have like the questions with the like multiple choice. Like, do you think they're going to have like the same amount of wins as I predicted? 19, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, and if you think they're going to win 40 plus, you can just put that over there. But I want to see what you guys think about it. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys like this video. Just give it a blue thumbs up, and also subscribe to the channel if you're new. So yeah, I just want to say thank you guys, and we're going to keep this train going. Alright, so thank you guys, and enjoy the rest of your day.